Welcome back to Classic Octane. I am Taylor. Beautiful day here in Texas, so we are out in the garage working on the KZ750. Name of the game today is going to be frame modification, welding in our rear hoop, and then we need to make a 1 to 1.5 inch thick mold to send off to Toughside to make our seat. The weather in Texas today is unbelievable. It's about 71 degrees, beautiful, sunny. I mean, this is the reason why you live in the South, because it's the middle of November and we're out here in t-shirt and working in the garage. So very, very excited about that. Funny note, before we get started, I wanted to take the Triumph out for a ride this morning since it's so darn nice outside. And I took it out a couple of days ago. Maybe you guys saw my Instagram story. And what I realized right before I was going to leave this morning is I was kind of looking on the back end here. There's supposed to be a license plate right there, but it's gone. So I have no idea. The whole bracket and everything's gone. So I'm thinking it looks like this is where it was mounted, kind of right off of this light, and see how it's loose now. It must have just you know, I took it up on a kind of a major road here. It was probably 70 miles an hour or so, and I think with the angle it just kind of over the last couple of rides it's probably worked its way loose, and then at some point I lost it. So I drove around, kind of followed my footsteps, and unfortunately wasn't able to find it. So I'm going to have to go into I guess the tag office and try to get a replacement. No big deal. I have a couple of titles I need to transfer for some of these other bikes and stuff anyway, so just gonna get that knocked out. So if you didn't catch one of my last videos talk about what kind of seat we're going to do, we are having Toughside make us a custom seat. They don't have a kind of pre-made seat that fits the KZ frame. They're kind of more on the Hondas and some Yamahas. So basically I worked out a deal with them to be able to make a mold, ship it to them. They're going to mold me a seat exactly off of that buck, we'll call it, and then ship it to me. So it'll look similar to this. I'm probably going to go with black though. I don't want to do another green on brown. Apparently every bike that I buy just has to be green. This seems to be the way it works out, but I think we're gonna go with black on this bike just to change it up a little bit, and I might black out the wheels and stuff. But anyway, this is the frame hoop I have. So literally just a hoop right now. Exact same width as the frame. I'll throw a link to this in the description. I just bought it off eBay. It was like 30 something bucks shipped. Not too bad. In the not too distant future, I'd love to get a tubing bender and start to be able to kind of knock these out myself instead of having to pay for it, but we'll get to it. So basically I got to figure out exactly how long I want the seat to be. I'm thinking like 24, 25 inches. I'd like to have it be able to tuck up underneath this huge opening on the tank, so it can, like I'd say, kind of tuck in here, take up some of this gap. What I don't want is the seat to like end here and then us just have this ginormous opening we got to figure out something to do with. So I want to make sure when we make the mold it goes up in there a little bit and then comes back far enough to kind of get us a good position on our rear tire. I'm thinking, like I said, hopefully about 24 inches long. I just went and picked up a piece of 3/4 inch plywood just from Lowe's. What I'm thinking here is we can make the mold out of this and then take it over here, use it as a template, and make it too thick, because the guys at Toughside requested like 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick. So we'll double that up and we'll have 1.5 inch thick mold. So as I'm measuring for this seat, I'm trying to, like I said, compensate for this gap here. Make sure we fill that in as much as possible, so that looks good. If you can see inside of here, hopefully you guys can, but basically the frame rail goes about 2.5-ish inches past this lip of the tank before it meets that vertical piece. So I want the seat to kind of butt all the way up to that, and then be about 24 inches or so past that. So we're going to have a total of about 26, maybe 26.5 inches for the total length of the seat itself. I'll probably put the hoop right at 26 inches, because we're going to have about 1/8 inch of an overhang so that the seat can actually go around the frame everywhere. So that's what I'm thinking. So I think a good first step is going to be for us to cut off these little tabs right here just so that we can get this bar, you know, totally flat with the bar it's going to mate up with. Probably cut this little tab off too. And again, the idea here is just so we can kind of have a good starting place and we can start to make our marks before we permanently cut anything off. Let's do that first. I've been in your waters. So I got all the little tabs ground off, everything's looking great. Pulled the tough side seat off the Barn to Brat bike over there, and I'm kind of just putting it up here so I can get an idea of the thickness. And once I put this up here, I don't really think I need to have the seat go up under the tank. I mean, it kind of matches up pretty well. The front of the seat we're going to have them make is going to be just a little bit thinner. You can kind of see how the frame starts to taper in. We're going to have the seat kind of match that. So it will go in, you know, probably 1/4 of an inch or so farther than this seat does. So it'll take up this little bit of a gap, but I don't think we need it to go all the way in there. And I turn the bike sideways so I can get a real good kind of side perspective of how it's looking. I really like it. I think the seat comes back far enough at that. It's like just past, you know, maybe an inch or two past the center line of the rear tire, which is, you know, pretty much what we're shooting for. So I think it's gonna look pretty darn good. I'm happy with it. You know, this bike would make a really good kind of brat style bike that I always end up making, but I'm gonna stick to the original plan that we're gonna make this thing kind of street scrambler, tracker, whatever the hell you want to call it. But you know, we still got the knobbies and stuff, so I'm gonna say that I'm gonna stick with that idea. But I do like the way this is turning out so far. So what I'm gonna do now, and if you diehard original Kawasaki fans are not crying already, you're about to, because I'm gonna pretty much just chop this straight down about right here somewhere, just to kind of get rid of this back portion. Then we can really get into the fine tuning of where we want to cut it to match the frame hoop up. I just want to kind of get the bulk of it off, so then we can kind of go from there. So well, now that all the Kawasaki fans are gone, we can start to see how this frame hoop is going to match up. The width looks perfect. It is just a little bit wider than a CB550. Again, I said I'll throw the link in here if you guys are interested, but really anytime you're looking for a frame hoop, you can literally just measure the outside of each pipe or each frame rail, and then go on eBay and look them up. And every bike I've built so far, they've already had ones made, which is why I haven't been able to justify buying a, you know, $700 tubing bender if I can buy these for 30 bucks a pop. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to measure exactly 24 inches off of the back of this tank, like we talked about, right to the end of our frame hoop. Almost nailed it right then. I'll probably put a straight edge across this just so we can be pretty accurate. But again, since they're making the seat to my mold, this really isn't that important. It's really just how far out you want to make it. You know, this is going to be totally a one-off seat, so not as important as the 550s that we're trying to match up with an existing seat. All right, that's exactly 24 inches right there. How does that look? I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to kind of step back and look at this for a minute and make sure, you know, obviously we can only really do this once, at least easily. So just want to make sure that the seat, one, isn't going to be like a 70s banana seat on your Schwinn. You know, I don't want the seat to look huge and be sticking way out, but I also don't want it to be too stubby either. So we've got to find that kind of balance, at least for this bike itself. So I'm going to mess with that a little bit, and then I'll bring you guys back. So we're making some progress here. I kind of have some marks so I can make sure that this lines back up. What I'm thinking is I'll probably cut this kind of at an upward angle, somewhere around, something like that, and then back across here and then up. So the idea here is I don't want, you know, the frame rail and the frame hoop to just match up at like a flat piece like this. I'd like it to be, you know, flat and then across, and then that way we can kind of weld, you know, along the bottom of this as well as around, just to give it a little bit more structure. That's kind of how I do it on my CB550s as well. You know, you can kind of see on this one, it's kind of chopped through, and then the actual tube itself meets like around here, and then it kind of, so you get just a lot more coverage that way. So I'm going to attempt to do the same thing. Our width looks like it's dead on, so we don't have to worry about that. So I'll probably just start to whittle away at it and kind of work my way to that perfect spot, as opposed to just trying to chop it all off and, you know, end up having to kind of add some metal later. So we're just going to kind of delicately cut some of the bottom of this box section off kind of along here, and then we'll work our way kind of refining that piece, and then we'll work on the frame rail itself. Hopefully that makes sense. Got the frame and the frame hoop trimmed. So basically it's kind of hard to see under this tape, but that's where the seam is that I'm going to be welding, and then we have a seam here that we'll weld across, and then we'll have you know, finish off the back here, so it'll be nice and clean. When we weld it, we will, you know, tilt this up a little bit, put a straight edge on here, and make sure it kind of matches the exact line of the existing frame rail. But I just wanted to throw this kind of seat on there. Obviously this isn't the exact fit. You know, our final seat will kind of bulge out here a little bit and then taper in a little bit more than this one does, but should give you a general idea of what it's going to look like. Like I said, I'm probably going to go with black. Let me know in the comments below if what color you think would look good. I don't think the brown looks bad, but I don't want to do another green on brown. I mean, I literally just finished one of those, so I'm thinking just a black seat. I could do like black with green stitching. I don't know if that would look good or not. It almost kind of feels a little, I don't know, maybe almost cheesy with green stitching. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'll kind of brainstorm a little bit on my own too. We'll have some time because I'm going to have to make the mold and then ship it to them, and then I think it's a couple of week turnaround time, especially with the holidays, to get it back. So we'll have some time to pick for the color, but I think it looks pretty good. So we're going to pull out the welder. I'm just going to MIG this to make it easy, and we'll get to burning this in. Didn't bore you guys with all the welding and grinding. I've shown how to do this. I have an actual video on just how to do a frame hoop on my channel, so if you're really interested to see all the nitty-gritty details, I'll throw a card up right now. But so you can see, I just kind of welded it in, grinded it down. It's super solid. Really happy with how it turned out. The idea here is, you know, when this is all done, you really ideally shouldn't be able to tell kind of where the original frame was and where the new hoop starts. So I'm going to throw this tough side seat back on one more time, just so we can kind of get an idea of how that's all looking, and then we will move on to making our wooden buck. So what I'm thinking for the wooden mold is I just cut out a piece of cardboard, and I want to try, since obviously this is a lot easier to cut than the wood, is to get this piece of cardboard to be exactly the size I want the wood to be. Then obviously it'll be super easy to transfer to the wood, you know, use a jigsaw or whatever, cut it out. So I got the rough shape here. What I'm probably going to do is tape this down and then see if I can't get in here and underneath and just mark exactly the outside of the frame. Because really what I want to do is I want to make the buck exactly the size of the frame. Because if you remember earlier, I told you that when they make the mold, it'll be an 1/8 inch bigger than the piece. Because obviously the plastic goes over the mold, ABS or whatever, vacuum formed. So that'll be the clearance around, is that kind of natural 1/8 inch that is going to happen when the molding process is going on. So like I said, I'm going to kind of tape this probably right here on the back just to make sure it's not moving on me, and try to just slowly whittle away around these edges and get it to fit exactly how we want. Jump to the next day. A little bit colder out, but we're still out here working in the garage. So you saw me cut out this piece. It's really close. Obviously I still got a lot of kind of jagged edges and stuff I need to sand down, but when I kind of look from the top, you know, I'm trying to just match up exactly. We have that taper in nicely. I'm thinking I'm probably going to take a little bit more off the front. I'd rather, you know, have a little bit of extra space up here to make sure that the, you know, seat can go inside of this opening in the tank. But as far as the sides go, I think we're pretty good. So I'm just going to get my hand sander out, one, so we can knock down all these little burrs so I don't get a huge amount of splinters, and two, so we can just start to smooth out some of these curves and stuff. Since they are going to use this as the mold, I want it to be, you know, as nice as possible. So overall, really close fit so far. Tough side seats are designed to bend a little bit, so once we lower our battery out of the way, you know, it'll be able to bend to kind of conform to that. Is exactly what it does on the 550s. As you can see, there's like a kind of a swoop up, and the tough side seats are designed to be somewhat flexible so that they can bend to that contour exactly. So don't worry and think there's going to be like a big gap or anything. We just obviously can't build our mold, our wooden mold, to bend like that, at least not easily. So cool. I'm just going to grab the hand sander and won't bore you with those details, and I'll bring you guys back when we're done. After a little bit of sanding and fine tuning, I think we're there. So you see it's like wide and then kind of tapers in. I think it's about as close as I'm going to be able to get it. I am not by any means a carpenter, and don't claim to be, but I think this will work. You know, I'd rather it be just a little bit big than small, obviously, just so we can always tweak and stuff once the seat comes in, but I honestly think this is pretty darn good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to transfer this to another piece, because like I said, they requested it to be between an inch and 1.5 inches thick. This is 3/4 inch plywood, so two pieces stacked together, 1.5 inches. That's what we'll send them, and hopefully it'll work. So I'm going to cut out a duplicate, and then we'll sand it, make sure it fits up perfectly, and then probably just run a couple screws or something through them just to hold the two pieces together. There she is. Channeled my inner Bob Vila here and knocked it all out. So I'm pretty happy with that. Nice and smooth. Again, for the 4th time, I think the dimensions are all right. So that is ready to box up and ship to California, to Toughside, for them to use as a buck. And hopefully we'll get a seat back in a couple of weeks that fits the way we want it to. That's what I'm going to call it for this one, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed me trying to figure out how to make a mold for the new Toughside seat. Fingers crossed, in a couple of weeks we'll find out how well I did. I am wearing a Classic Octane hoodie. Some of you OGs might even own one of these. Currently I don't have any on the website. If anybody's interested in a hoodie, let me know. I can kind of throw up some new designs on the website and have them available. I do want to kind of increase the number of shirts and types of shirts and designs and all that kind of stuff. Just have to find the time to do it. I am going to immediately jump into filming another video. I want to put out a couple of videos in the next week for you guys. Going into Thanksgiving, I'm going to have a little bit of time off. I'd like to you know, have enough content. I know I've missed a couple of weeks here in the past, so I want to pump out as much content on this guy. I got some work to do on the Camaro. We got all kinds of stuff. You see the blast cabinet is out. I have a really cool project I'm trying to put together for that I haven't seen anybody else online do yet. So it may or may not work. I guess if you'd never see the video, that it didn't work, but we're at least going to try it. So again, let me know if you want some hoodies or interested. I got to go make some diodes as well, because you guys have been buying a lot of those, and I'll see you guys soon.